All right, welcome back, everyone. Connectingdots2 here, Sunday, June 5th, and I've decided to have this quick little hangout here because, well, like most of you, I come out on YouTube seeking some information on various topics, and it seems like some of them are able to get their videos up there no matter how crappy the information is, and there's other ones like myself who take their time and actually connect some dots. We just don't seem to end up there on that search bar, or should say YouTube search results. Anyhow, today's video is going to be dealing with something I actually started a while back here, debunking the Fukushima death of the Pacific Ocean. I've gone down to the beach myself. If you haven't seen that video, it's linked down below in the Show More tab. It's probably up on the screen right now if you look. And more specifically, and I can't deal with everything. This person just left a comment here. Radcheck Chick is an excellent researcher. And Lauren, and she's talking about Lauren Moret and Albert, what's his name? Lambrant, whatever. I'm sure you know the three of them, the three amigos here, are stoked with valuable knowledge. Yeah, that's why none of them want to debate me. And she's speaking about this Rad Chick here. I'm not sure if you've heard of her. Again, Rad Chick has been around here, promoted on RT News. It's that same circle jerk of corruption I've been speaking about, all connecting back up to RT News. If you don't know about that video or that connection, please go watch my latest video at the Silver Gold Man, because I get into it again. That's the YouTube channel, Silver Gold Man. And I don't want to get into Radchick specifically, but she kind of became well known on YouTube when she, well, first of all, she got kind of known in 2011 when she claimed that, she lives in the USA, by the way, she claimed that Fukushima fallout from the rainfall in the United States, a few months after the Fukushima meltdown, by the way, that the fallout, some rain had fallen on her daughter's arm and caused third-degree burns to her arm. I'm like, yeah, okay, so that's where she got, the bullshit propelled. And then thereafter, she came out with a series of videos on this winger effect. And I've already debunked this. I'll do it again in 2 seconds. You can research the effect yourself on Wikipedia. And it comes down to, she was speaking about airplanes and how this is all caused by neutron radiation. Yeah, that's right. So it turns out that cosmic rays, yeah, they're airplanes up in the air. That was a no-brainer. And the best is, if you go look at this winger effect, it's been around way before Fukushima ever took place. So again, that was an easy debunk. This is why they don't want to debate me, by the way. If you're wondering why these people, because people have actually left comments in my own videos, hey, Connecting Dots, it'd be really great to see you, debate one of these people. And they've mentioned Radchick, they've mentioned Alfred, they've mentioned Lauren, they've mentioned Kevin Blanche, they've mentioned Dana Durnford. The fact is, none of these people want to debate. I want to make that very, very clear. And when I'm speaking about a debate, I'm talking about them getting together just one-on-one during a live session where they get 5 minutes to speak, say what they want, and I get 5 minutes to speak, and we go back and forth like that. Not a childish debate where they're all over speaking over each other in arguments. I don't want that. I want something constructive out of this, just like the rest of you. So today's video is, like I said, we're going back in time a little bit, because I got to kind of stick with this. And this had to do with Fukushima. This video here, the Pacific blob and the salmon population. Again, if you haven't seen that one, you may want to watch it at the end of this video. I'll link it down below in the Show More tab of this video, and hopefully I'll remember to post it at the end of this video, a link, so you can go watch that, and then it'll bring you more up to par to what's taking place in the Pacific Ocean, how the U.S. Navy had said they're going to have a 5-year war training exercise, sonar blasts, how they admitted, the Navy themselves, that they're going to be killing millions of sea creatures in the Pacific Ocean. They put a rough estimate of about 1,600 whales in the Pacific Ocean. So hopefully you can understand some of these whales are washed up in massive groups here. It has to do, I'm talking about specifically the Seine whale, I believe that was the name of it, off the coast of Chile. That whale happens to hang out at very very deep in the Pacific Ocean, okay? They don't hang around the surface. They're not a surface whale. And the sonar blast, the new testing that the U.S. Navy is going to do is what? Yeah, blasting even deeper. So they want to make sure that the enemy doesn't sneak in at the bottom with their submarines. So the new boats now are equipped with new sonar blasts. Long story short, get yourself up to par on this whole Pacific blob and U.S. Navy, and it's essentially a 21-minute video that I'll link up at the end. What I want to continue on is this whole salmon thing, because, if you do any searches on YouTube, and I'll mention this again in case you're new here, that I live on the Pacific Ocean. I am surrounded by water. I live in the city of Victoria. There are whale tours that leave right from right downtown here. Beautiful place. I've said before, I'm a certified travel agent. So if you want to come have a beautiful West Coast experience, contact me, cd1 at connectingdots1.com. I'll hook up your itinerary. I don't know all the entire island by heart, but I've been here for roughly over almost 13 years now. And a lot of beautiful places here, little secrets that are not really promoted too much. Anyways, long story short, the Strait of Juan de Fuca that I'll be speaking about in this video is this area right here. It's known, world renowned for its ebb and flow tide, okay? So we've been hearing from Dana, Kevin Blanche, the Jeff Wrench show, how the Fukushima radiations have been washing in and out of right in front of my hometown. Like I said, I'm right here. I've gone down to the ocean right there. If you go watch the video I just pointed out a couple of minutes ago here, right here, Fukushima killed the Pacific Ocean. That's only part one. I'm going to go back down to another area, and I'll make it a series of 10 videos. But essentially, you'll soon find out that it's not dead. There's big fat mussels down there, and I live right by the ocean, and Fukushima radiation sure as hell did not kill everything here, because there's so many people around here, we would hear about it. But the best is you still have people out on YouTube that are claiming it's dead. They've been saying this since August of 2014, that the Fukushima radiation has washed up the Strait of Juan de Fuca. I'm not making this stuff up, okay? This is very well known here. On anyone who's been on YouTube, who's been listening to these lies, is very well aware that Dana and his friends have been claiming that the Fukushima radiation washed up the Strait of Juan de Fuca all the way up to his hometown. In fact, he goes on further, because that's just the beginning of it, okay? He said that he spent 9 days trekking along north of Vancouver here. It's called the Sunshine Coast. And the radiation had washed all the way up and killed everything. So I coincidentally happened to be going back to the same areas that he did. If you want to go watch that videos, in fact, I've actually asked folks to help me with the cost of going on this trek, and I've received a big fat donation this week, $600. I'm roughly about $335 short from my target. That's right. If you want to help out, you can go watch the videos. They're named here, part 1, part 2, part 3, and we need some truth, because essentially all we have are people on YouTube who stick with one story and don't connect the dots for you, and are always saying it's the end of the world. And even, I go read the stories that this Kevin Blanche fellow says, or folks, you can see here under Salmon Collapse, it's mostly all his pictures, because it's the same bullshitter on YouTube who's been saying the same lies over and over since 2014, okay, essentially. And in this latest series of videos, and even went and commented on another person's video, he says, I walked the entire beach line from, I can't remember where he says, in Mexico, all the way up to Northern California. 100% bullshit. Why? Because we have videos of him filming in his own backyard when he's apparently on this 3-month trek. Seriously, if you're going to be walking that entire distance that he claims, we're not just talking a couple of miles here on the West Coast. We're talking about, he's talking over 100 miles. Where's the footage? There's no footage. There's none. He never uploaded anything. How can people come out on YouTube and claim that they've gone to these places, but there's no footage? The best is if you go watch my little bit of footage that I took on that one specific area. Again, Fukushima killed the Pacific Ocean, ? I only went to one little area. I didn't even do 200 feet. You'll get to see how terrible the terrain was, but you also get to see how much sea life is right there in under half an hour of filming. There's a lot of sea life. I didn't go very far. So what I'm going to deal with here is this Pacific salmon bullshit, because I'm so tired of him not actually showing the real story. He's not going to connect the dots for you. He's not going to take one single sample. He's not going to talk about the samples, the results that, like I have. People said, you don't know what you're talking about. I've been making Fukushima videos since 2011, guy. I got more Fukushima collage of results from real testing, independent as well as government and DFO and FDA, the different departments in Canada and USA. I've called them out on their bullshit. The governments are corrupt. Their testing finds zero. The independent testing always finds traces. 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 Did you get that? My other stories from Fukushima testing on fish off Japan's coast, much different story. I'm talking about large levels of bioaccumulation in the fish off the coast, not massive death of fish on the Japanese coast. I'm talking about massive levels, high levels of bioaccumulating radiation in the shoreline fish off the coast of Fukushima. And you can find these stories. Okay, like I said, I track down the stuff because I'm like yourself. I'm out here looking for some truth. And I realized a while back that YouTube is mostly corrupt. It's funny, they're asking me to fill out a big survey, and they said, don't let go. And I'm like, okay, no problem. I won't let go. I'll tell you folks exactly what's going on. And the number one problem with YouTube is they promote frauds. I don't know if they don't know how to, if they don't know this, if it's by accident, but yeah. I'm going back to this website, to this specific thread right now, just so if you're new here and you've never seen this, I'll just leave this with you for a second so you can see that I've been tracking these stories, okay? And I'm not full of poo-poo. I know what I'm talking about. The first one came out August 2nd, 2012. The fish was found, these rock trout, caught roughly 20 kilometers off the north of the plant, Fukushima, were 258 times above the legal limit, okay, of cesium. Yes, there are hundreds of other radioactive particles, but the cesium is the most abundant one. So there it is there, 258, okay? The next one in January of 2013, 2,500 times above the cesium limit. Please do not tell me that all the coastline of Fukushima is dead and all the fish in Japan have all washed up and somehow there's a big hush-hush on this story. Please, because I got stories from the fishermen along the Fukushima prefecture that are dying to go back to work. I'm tired of the lies that some of you promote. You don't have the stories. I dig out the stories. So another one, February 28th, 2013, 5,000 times above the limit. And this is TEPCO. This is TEPCO. TEPCO. Yes, they have lied about the extent of the damage at Fukushima. No doubt about that. That's the latest news. They kind of, lessened it. No surprise there. This happens all the time. But we're talking about real testing here where they're actually giving us the real numbers. So again, it all has to do with people coming out, no numbers, just telling you it's the end of the world, and they won't make this, give you the truth about it. So I'm going to pull out a series of stories here. If you're interested, you want to tag along, and it's all begins here back in, 2008. How many years before Fukushima? Oh boy, oh boy. I know some of you don't like hearing this stuff, but I'm not here to fearmonger. I'd much rather have some truth, some real stories that add up and make sense of the situation. So hopefully you'll enjoy what I've thrown together here for you. So, and I do this because there's no one on YouTube that makes these videos. Okay, if you can find somebody, please, I'd like to know who these people are, because honestly, I don't see anything out there. I see nothing but people that connect up and fraud together, scam together. So the salmon stocks in British Columbia are on the brink of a collapse. 2008, brink of a collapse. Salmon stocks, brink of a collapse, largely because the Federal Department of Fisheries and Oceans have consistently allowed too many fish to be killed in commercial and recreational fisheries, according to a new research paper. How many years before Fukushima? Brink of a collapse. I hope you're getting this, folks. this is important because we've actually had a boom, and this is what I've been since then. We had a boom in salmon, and now we had a bust. And isn't that kind of how it works? And if you've been watching my videos, I've been talking about ebb and flow. I also made videos back in 2014 that were talking about the whale population, the bluefin whales in the Pacific Ocean, back up to the same population numbers as when they were first monitored in the I think it was 1953, 1955, when they first monitoring their populations, back up to the same numbers. So something is feeding these whales. Anyways, long story short, let's stick with the salmon and the genocide of the Pacific Ocean. Okay, that's what's really important here. And is it Fukushima, or is it something else, or is it a combination of things that we're seeing washing up on our shores? That's what I think is going on. So the high exploitation of stocks, which draws parallels with the destruction of the Atlantic cod by overfishing, not by Fukushima, by overfishing. I'm Canadian, okay, folks? So I know all about the Atlantic cod and their overfishing. They've been talking about it for years. But as I get into this story, I'll also talk about toxins. And I think that also is very relative to what took place in the Atlantic cod. I think it was a combination of overfishing and the Department of Fisheries not coming forth with the fact that the Ottawa River, as well as the St. Lawrence, is just a big, it's a toilet flush, but it's not just poo-poo. That's the worst of it. And I'm talking about the large populations that all flush into these rivers and the Great Lakes, and how they all wash out on both sides of the Great Lakes. Those toilet flushes, they all end up somewhere. That St. Lawrence Seaway is some of the world's most disgusting water. I mean, apart from what flows, like, let's say, in Asia and Japan, whatever, in China, I should say. Other than that, it's full of toxins. And that's what I'll be speaking about in the story, how they believe it changed the sex in some of these killer whales with this latest orca boom. I believe that may be partially responsible what took place in the Atlantic cod. We have no one that had connected the dots, had done the testing to maybe find out that the Atlantic cod were starting to go a sex change, just like the orcas are. And oddly enough, this is not new, by the way. If this is the first time you're hearing this and you're saying he's full of shit, you need to really get up to par, because they've done other studies on the chemicals, the effects on fish populations in streams, the estrogens, how it changes the sex of the fish. You can't have it when you have a bunch of males swimming together all in the same pond and there's not a bunch of females. So long story short, I want to continue on here with what we have here in the ocean. And more specifically, the salmon. This is important, okay? It all ties in. It's all about connecting the dots. So you can see here the researchers said that based on the monitoring of 137 streams between 2000 and 2005, they found 35% of the salmon runs in northern BC were classified as depressed, way before Fukushima even came into the picture, okay? This is very important that you pay attention to what's going on here and you don't get sucked in by these people that are just going to just continue lying to you, okay? So data which span nearly 6 decades, 60 years, show that management has repeatedly not met DFO's own target levels, with results in diminished runs for all species in nearly every decade. This is not new. This is not new. Although climate and ocean survival likely play substantial roles, and please pay attention to that, because that'll be, again, the last video I'll be linking up here, the one I showed you a few minutes ago, how you got to get up to par on this Pacific blob. This will tie into this climate of the ocean, okay, as well as there's toxins. I think it's multiple scenarios that are impacting the changes in our ocean, as well as the sex in the some of the fish here and the whales specifically. Okay, so next one up is the sockeye salmon collapse due to lack of food. Study says, again, this is in 2009, okay? The story was published in 2012, but this is from stocks low in 2009. Again, it all ties into understanding what's going on here, okay? So extraordinary event and numerous theories on why the sharp decline resulted were presented in a 21-month inquiry. He was involved in concluded that extraordinary event was taking place in the Strait of Georgia, the body of water between Vancouver Island, where I happen to live, and the BC mainland. The scientists began to notice that there wasn't enough food in the stomachs of salmon, and they were fewer and smaller herring than usual. I'll go on here to what was the kicker in this one? He found that while the Fraser River produced 450 million juvenile sockeye salmon in 2007, only 1.4 million returned in 2009. We think that 2007 represented an extremely poor year for food production. At the time, those fish would either be entering the Strait of Georgia, or in the case of herring, when the larval herring would first start feeding. According to this paper, a survey fishery in 2007 noted a lack of juvenile sockeye salmon in the strait and the small size of sockeye that were caught. Other kinds of salmon affected. The paper says coho and Chinook salmon in the strait at the time were also smaller than in previous surveys. A high percentage of them also had empty stomachs. This is important here. There's a lack of food, right? And this is way before Fukushima went down. You have to understand. Years before, okay? Years before. The data collected at the time found massive amounts of fresh water entering the strait, and the wind, which flushes out the fresh water, wasn't strong enough and blowing in the wrong direction. The climate. As a result, he said, the surface water layer of the strait became highly stratified, creating a shallow cap that was too shallow for good plankton growth. We had all these ingredients coming together that was limiting, we think, the amount of plankton growth in the upper layer. So all of the fish stocks had relatively poor food supply because of the structural change in the physical environment of the strait. This is really important. I hope you're getting this. So yes, salmon rely heavily on the herring as a prey of source. This one here is herring fishery strength is in the sum of its parts. The study finds, I can't go over the entire story. There's not really a whole lot in this, but it's, it's the type of information and the type of study that really needs to be done. You can't have people just taking a video camera and taking footage along the shoreline, yet they fail to zoom in closely to what's taking place. And please, if you don't know what I'm speaking of, go watch my video here, Fukushima, Kill the Pacific Ocean. Go watch it at the end, or if it's linked up on the screen there, I got it to open up on another browser in case you forget. The long story of it is that, long and short of it is that none of it is they're not doing any proper video footage. None of them have footage from the same areas that they may have gone from the previous years, and they're all claiming it's the end of the world. So, yeah, what can I say? Okay, so where was I here? I was right here on this image. So with the, yes, what we have here is the Pacific herring swim close to the shore and spawn in eelgrass and seaweed. So that's what you're seeing up here on the screen. And there's the eelgrass. You can see the little eggs here. And what's important about this is that if you watch my video from 2014, when I called up a gentleman in Powell River who runs a fishing tour here along this Sunshine Coast, he spoke about the large, massive groups of herring along our, oddly enough, Dana Durnford's very own coastline, and right along the line where he was saying he'd gone along this 9-day stretch here along the Sunshine Coast, and everything was naked, according to him, was all dead, devoid of life. So the gentleman actually contradicted what Dana was saying. He was saying, well, no, actually we have orcas here all the time. We see them all the time now. There's a massive school of herring that run all the way from, he said, a town of Lund all the way down to some other BC coastal town. I can't remember, but he was out there all the time doing these fishing tours, and he was noticing this massive long run of herring along the Sunshine Coast here. So this ties into about them laying their eggs and where they're going to do it, and someone's not going to show you what's going on. So when I do my footage here, I'll be guarantee you when I go to Dana's shoreline and I do that 900, that 200 stretch that took him 9 days to do, I'll be absolutely taking some close-up pictures of this. So those of you that are wondering, that want to see the difference in my tour and his tour, just wait. The truth is coming out here. It's all about getting prepared and doing this properly. Okay. So what's important is they talk about the life pattern has traditionally created a close relationship between the herring and the First Nations people. And this is what I've been saying is Dana is out there telling everyone that everything is dead, yet we have people that have been living on this coastline for centuries. They're not talking about everything being devastated and dead. We don't have any interviews from Dana along with anyone from any coastline agreeing with him, yes, everything is dead. We had one guy from, oddly enough, from Tofino here on Vancouver Island, and when I call him a fraudster and whatnot, he disappeared into the mist, never to be heard again. Like I said, there's no one here who's going to back up Dana's work except any of the other fraudsters on YouTube like Kevin Blanche, because if you speak to the locals, they'll tell you, no, oh yes, we've had a problem with the starfish die-off, but other than that, the coast pretty well looks the same as it has for decades. So, and that's what I'll be presenting when I go down there. So what's important is that the paper shows the local variability of herring and how it helps ensure the stability of the population. In Puget Sound, the commercial herring fishery is limited and targets juvenile fish in central and south Puget Sound, mainly caught to be used as bait in sport fisheries, primarily in salmon here. Concerns about overfishing has resulted in relatively light fishing for herring since around the 1980s compared to other regions. And I'm saying this because if you've been watching Kevin Blanche's shows, he's been talking about, for example, the other regions where the salmon are struggling. And I believe it has to do, well, number one, the food source. There's a lack of food, and I'll get into the herring stocks here coming up very shortly, because it's important that I connect the dots on this so you get a clear picture. It's not just the Army blowing up and having these massive sonar blasts over the course of the next 5 years until the year 2017, I think it was. It was a 5-year war games they were holding out there in the Pacific Ocean from Alaska all the way down to South America, by the way. So if you're wondering if it's just one area, no, they're doing the entire coastline. So essentially, we had the Fukushima, the blob, the Pacific blob. I believe that's responsible. And just the big changes in how we're now dealing with the consequences of us overfishing. Some have turned a blind eye to it, while others, for example, on California's coast and Oregon's coast, they're now starting to take it more seriously here, trying to protect their salmon stocks. And I think, they should have started years ago in protecting the bait fish like they have here along my Sunshine Coast, along my BC coast. And I believe that's the reason why we had the orca boom, the whales, the orca whales, the boom. If you don't know about it, that's coming up here in a second here. So what's important is you got to protect what the fish and what the larger fish are going to eat. If you don't protect it, it's going to be gone here. Okay. Now I was trying to see if there was something else in here that I wanted to share with you, but okay, that was it on this one here. So let's get right into the herring stock, and this is right from Government of Canada, Fisheries and Oceans Canada. Now they've done some changes on how they count the fish. They've realized they've made some big errors, and the past counting was inaccurate, because they saw booms when they weren't supposed to be seeing booms. And essentially, I'm not going to get into how the whole how they change, how they analyze it. All I'm going to share with you is the stock assessment and management advice here for BC Pacific herring from 2015 and 2016. Okay, the link is down below in the show more tab. What's important, I'm not even going to go over all of this. What I'm going to stick with is specifically what they had projected here according to 2015. The projected pre-harvest spawning biomass. This is what I'm going to work on, and I'm not going to go over all the areas. And the links are down below if you want to watch them. I'm just going to show you what I'm looking for. I'm sticking with stock HG here, the first one, and I'm going with AM1, and they're giving you two readings: an absolute high of 40,000, I think they're called kilotons, and a low, okay, of 9,000 with the medium in between. Now this is the projected one for 2016. You can see it up above here, okay, 2016. And if you just scroll up to the other page, you'll see HG again, AM1, and this is for the 2015 spawning biomass. And you can notice the numbers here. A high of 44, a low of 12,005, a median of 23,350. And you can look across the board if you want. You can see how the biome, they just read it in different ways here. I'm sticking with the biomass, the spawning specifically, because that's what they're making projection for in the following year of 2016, okay? And again, if you want to go over all this stuff, you can. One of the interesting things I found was the relation in how over the years, let me zoom in a little bit here. The spawning biomass, they got it all the way back here to the 1950s. You can see how there's like, this is a never constant. Never constant. And let's go up to the next one. This one here is the stack plots of coastwide catch by area in kilotons. And what was another one? This last graph, I believe, was kind of interesting. Okay, this one was the combined commercial removals, okay, how much they remove from roe and food and bait and special use fisheries operations in BC herring stock assessment areas from 2008 to 2015. And I'm sticking with strictly here with the Strait of Georgia and Prince Rupert area here, okay. You can see in 2008, 9,930. Look at you know, from 2012, the numbers kept increasing. And a last one is, I thought there was one more graph in here that was kind of interesting. Nope, I guess not. I mean, there's a lot of good info in here, but nothing that's that I feel is going to change anything in this message that I'm trying to relay with you. You can kind of see here on the graph what's taking place. It's, you know, it's been a downward trend. So, like I said, the graph is, the link is there to that PDF file if you want to watch it. I'm going to continue on here with the baby boom of the killer whales. Okay, yeah, the biggest baby boom since 1977 for a population of 84 whales who are frequently seen in and around the Puget Sound. And I'm sticking with that area because it has to do with that salmon boost of, and then I'm, you know, sorry, it's not salmon, the herring, and how they're doing well and how they've been doing management here of not making sure it's not being overfished since the 1980s. And I believe that's part of the reason why it's translated into more salmon doing a lot better here, specifically on the west coast of British Columbia compared to other areas, because they've jumped in ahead of time before the entire collapse of the herring, and they've saved that area, or they've tried to save it since the 1980s. So you can see here 9 new calves alive and well have been spotted between December 2014 and January of 2016. Now that's changed a little bit, but it's what's important. At that, we had a high of 9 at one point, and this is the highest since 1977. And I believe back then it was 11 calves. Yeah, so we did extremely well here on the West Coast. And what's kind of important here is that they had a boom mostly in males, male killer whales. Isn't that odd? And they think, and they believe, and I believe they're right, it has to do with the toxins. The toxins, just like it's been shown to change the sex in the fish in the streams, I believe is having the same effect on the killer whales because of where they happen to be hanging out. And let me go back to that original picture here. If you're wondering where that strait is, it's this whole area here, okay? It's this whole area right here. So we have all the garbage that's coming out of this whole area of Puget Sound, Tacoma, Seattle, Everett, and then you have the large city of Vancouver and all the other towns, all their chemicals that they're spewing in here. We have loads of paper mill plants here all along the coastline, and all that garbage that they've been spewing in there, I believe is starting to have a little effect, and it may be changing the sex of right down to the whales here. And let's see here. The high number of male babies in a group of killer whales living off the coast of British Columbia is cause for concern. Researchers say 8 babies have been born into the southern resident killer whale population since December 2014. And there were up to 8 at that point, but only one of the calves have been confirmed as a female, which could spell trouble for the future of these whales here. So they went on to say that the calf is known as J14, is one of 5 confirmed to be a male. Another is suspected to be a male, and the sex of the last calf is currently unknown. What else was important here? Those toxins could come from several different places, including spills in agriculture or sewage. Sooner or later, we have a problem, and we're seeing it in the whales. More research is needed in order to find out what impact toxins are having on the whales, which could take years, he said. By then, well, it'll be too late. They'll be telling you the same thing that I'm telling you, that they've already done this research in smaller streams, and they've seen the impact on various fish populations. It's sad, but yeah, here I am, Mr. Nobody with no high school diploma, telling you that they've already done these studies, and the results have found that it affects the sex. And in fact, it's even found now that there's a city, sorry, I should say a town, I wish I could remember exactly where, somewhere in Canada, and unfortunately they're getting, they're mostly natives in that, I think it's a reserve, in fact, and they're mostly natives. And unfortunately, they have found that because of the toxins that are flowing into that town, because of the, I believe there's a crude oil processing plant just upwind from them, and the toxins that were being released and floating into across their town in the air, were now having an effect on the sex of the newborn babies. And it's exactly the same scenario where there are more males now being, or is it males or females? Geez, I'd have to go double check that story, because it may have been the opposite, where it was actually more females being born in that town. So it definitely seems to even affect humans, apart from the studies found in fish that have been done on this exact type of scenario. So later on here in December 31st here, orca calf found dead on Vancouver Island amid the baby boom of endangered killer whales. And it says here, unfortunately, that the this baby was, I believe it was a female, if I'm not mistaken. It washed up on Muscle Beach near Ucluelet, and the carcass was going to be tested. Tissue samples for the cause of the death is not known yet. Now, it said here, let me see. He said it believed that the calf was about 2 months old. Oh yes, killer whales have a 50% mortality death rate in the first year of life. That's very important here, okay? Cottrell noted it was especially unfortunate that the calf was a female because of their value in contributing to the population. So yes, very bad news. So that was the female here that ended up washing up ashore here along Muscle Beach. Very sad news. So baby orca calf born to endangered population is missing, presumed dead. This one is in February of 2016. This was a new calf they had just spotted here, the J55, sorry, that's the names, the sort of names they give them. Okay, was first documented swimming with a pod of Southwest resident killer whales on January 18th in Puget Sound, again, the same area. And the calf was not seen again during a sighting of the pod in the Strait of Juan de Fuca. The Strait of Juan de Fuca on January 19th, and another sighting on February 25th. Deborah Giles here of the Center of Whales Research says the loss of any calf is a blow to the struggling population, but it's not entirely surprising because half of newborn calves do not survive the first year. Yeah, so that's rather unfortunate, and they're picky eaters. Chinook salmon are a staple in the population's diet, according to the researchers. In a good salmon year, there's plenty to eat. In a poor salmon year, they're on the edge. Despite the recent births, the population is still at risk. We think part of the reason that reproduction is so low is because of the food supply and the fluctuation of food supply. Absolutely. Scientists say the mortality death rate for newborn killer whales is high, with up to half of them not surviving the first year. So unfortunately, that's the way it works out here. So I'm done with this at this point. I'll leave you a link down below if you want to go follow any of the information. You can find this thread, like as I said, yeah, you saw me here. I just typed in JOC along with the word Olympic in this search bar on the upper right hand side, and you'll find this story as well as any other one here on this website of mine, connectingdots1.com. And I'll also mention, if you want to help out with this Fukushima tour, this is where the PayPal donation, you can click here. I don't make any money off this. This is why I consider I'm no profit. There's no ads. There's no commercial. I've been doing it for free. In fact, I've spent thousands of dollars of my own cash on this. So some of the money is going to go to my helping me with the tour. The leftover money is going towards an equipment to monitor radiation here in our West Coast food, water, and soil, as well as testing for strontium-90, because it's something that nobody wants to do. So I'm going to finish it up here with giving you a link. As I said, I'd like you to check out the Fukushima versus Pacific blob and the salmon depopulation. This is going to help you tie in more of what's taking place here on the West Coast, as well as the chemtrails, because I believe that the chemtrail, if you're not aware of this chemtrail spraying, I believe it has something to do with this anomaly that we're seeing here specifically over the Americas. How it actually ties in. We've seen the same blob over on the Atlantic, and I think this entire heated area travels right across North America, and there's a good possibility that this ties into the reason why we're being sprayed so heavily with chemtrails. I think it's partially for them to try and protect us. I believe that they know there's a major problem here, and they're trying to keep it hush-hush. I'm trying to figure out how this problem may have come about. If it's the natural, I think it's a 360,000 year cycle that we have on Earth. I'm not going to get into that in this video. And I'm also looking at the other side of it. Is it the HAARP testing? Did they do some HAARP testing? Did they mess up the ozone layer, more specifically over North America, with this HAARP instrument that they believe that they constructed up in northern Alaska? That is something that I'm also looking into. It's I believe that may have caused part of this heating situation that we have here over North America. Nonetheless, we do have a situation that's taking place in the Pacific Ocean. Is there Fukushima radiation? I don't know. If you go watch the video here that I'm pointing out on the screen, the radiation death of the whales, that ties in more specifically with the Navy and how they admitted that they're going to be doing war games for 5 years, how they're going to be killing over millions of sea creatures in the Pacific Ocean during this war game exercise here that stretches all the way from Alaska all the way down to South America. So I guess I'm going to go to the comment section, see if there's any comments, and wrap it up from there. Is this live show here? Oh, it's not even showing up, my live show. Well, that's odd. Okay. It's not being promoted on my YouTube channel, and it's supposed to. Don't quite understand why it's not. But this is what happened over at my Silver Gold Man YouTube channel. People were telling me that the live show wasn't appearing on my show. So I was telling everyone back then, just come to my Connectingdots2 YouTube website, and I post the videos there so you can see what's going on and just stay on top of this. Because this is how it works, unfortunately, on YouTube. They censor truthers. Hey, thanks for all the thumbs up. Thank you, everyone. Okay, let's go look at the comments here. On the bioaccumulating radionuclides, well said. That is the issue and something you've covered for a long time. Yes, absolutely. With many people promoting bullshit, it steers people away from focusing the real issue. Absolutely. And you understand that's why Dane and the rest of them are out here, because this absolute big lie of Fukushima, I know this because I've been doing the Fukushima thing since day one over at my Connectingdots2 YouTube channel. Began when I started in 2012, in 2011. Sorry, was in 2011? No, in 2011, those people were all on my side, and Dana Durnford wasn't even on YouTube channel. Or wasn't on YouTube making Fukushima videos. Kevin Blanche spoke about me once in a while. Miss Milky, the clown, Missing Sky, Rad Chick, all those people were all on my side because I was the only one making Fukushima videos to the extent now, like how I connect the dots. Instead of showing my face, it's more about the data, right? However, it came clear at one point that, hold on a second, we need to do real testing. We need to do real testing. And that's in 2012 when I began the gamma spectrometer funding, is when everyone flipped and they all started hating on me. And I believe the reason why is because I was letting go of the fear-monger bullshit group that are still out here fear-mongering and bullshitting. And I was now on my own taking a complete opposite path. I continued making videos on Fukushima. However, I was very adamant about making videos, for example, how the Food and Drug Administration on Fukushima Day 1205 had absolutely lied to Americans. And that's, in fact, I believe is where I started this, hey guys, we need proper testing. I'm a parent myself. I got 2 kids. Actually, my boy's growing up now. He's a man. But I still have my little girl here on the West Coast. They eat salmon. They eat seafood. I've mentioned before, my own family member is head of the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, darn near president of that group. I can't even bring common sense to my family members. So I figured I'll be over here on the West Coast, a guy with no high school diploma who did the cross-Canada radiation tour in 2011 with not 1 Geiger counter, but 2, an electronic Geiger counter as well as an analog. I had over $4,000 of radiation reading equipment. I was featured in a news story. You mentioned Energy News. If you watch my past video, even Dana showed I was featured in a news story. And that's because I found Fukushima radiation with instruments. And then I realized in 2012, hold on a second, this is going to trickle over to my shoreline. The instruments that I have will no longer function. I need a gamma spectrometer, and I'm going to buy a mobile one. It's about an $18,000 to $22,000 unit, but I'll be able to carry it to any shoreline with my video camera as well as my other Geiger counters and do proper testing and videotape it. I think it's essentially very important if I'm going to do proper reporting. It's not about my face. I want to do it live. I want to share with you folks the testing that I'm doing. I want you to see the sample that I'm testing. I want to be upfront with you people because there's too much bullshit. I'm not a kid. I'm in my 50s. I've been watching the news since I'm 8 years old. I've been watching politics since then. It's full of bullshit. And I'm tired of it. I want to bring some truth on YouTube, and this is my place. This is my YouTube channel. If you enjoy the information, either subscribe, and if you can help along with the donations, great. If not, I've been very upfront. My long-term goal is to buy a gamma spectrometer and do live testing. I've already got connections here with warehouses, fish warehouse, seafood warehouses on my coastline. I'll do the proper testing. So yes, I've been talking about this bioaccumulation because it's very important. Was it cesium that German scientists claimed would start to go up in 5 years from the incident? Actually, that was the strontium-90. So yes, good question there. Very, very good question. And that's why I spoke about, not only do I want to do ongoing testing with a gamma spectrometer, but I cannot test for strontium-90 with a gamma spectrometer. I'll have to pay out of my own pocket. That's roughly a $200 test each time. So I'm sorry I can't do those types of testing live. The best thing I can do is videotape where I'm going to take the sample and videotape the sample. I can take the sample back home, wrap it up in the box, videotape that part, put the sticker on the box, and send it away with the stamp. That's the best I can do. I cannot, I can't bring my video camera down to some independent lab, but that's the important part, that I'm not sending it to the government. I'm not sending it to Woods Hole Institute. I've said that before. They are corrupt. Do not help them out. I'm going to go to the independent labs, just like the stories where I promoted in the past, how every one of these independent warehouses, fish warehouses, did independent testing with independent labs, and they always found Fukushima radiation. Those are the types of labs I'm looking for. I do no longer trust my government. My government's been infiltrated by Freemasons and Illuminati. They control the information. It's not the people within the government themselves that are corrupt. It's not my family member themselves that are corrupt. They're misled. They're control the information. In fact, we've had scientists within the Canadian government that protested in the year, I think it was 2011 or 2014. I have to go pull out that video. They actually protested because they were upset that the government was now censoring what the scientists in Canada could read and not read. This is very important. My own government has been subverted by the Freemasons, Illuminati, and they are now controlling even the testing for Fukushima radionuclides. I'm done with the bullshit. There'll be no shit show with me. I'll remain as honest as when I first came out here. I'll continue making these videos and sharing the live stuff with you because I think that's what everyone wants. So yes, there's a problem here with strontium-90, and it was the Germans. Also, I really enjoy your focus on real facts, the truth, with no agenda or preformed. No, I'm not preformed. You can see I'm on the fly all the time. Hope your efforts encourage more people to do the same. Oh man, I hope so too. Honestly, I'm so sick of doing this by myself. I wish others. I'd like to be able to promote a bunch of other truthers on my YouTube channel. I'd like to be able to fill up that whole group that I have here on the side of my channel. I only have a couple right now. If I take away this fraud and disinformation YouTuber group, I'll only be able to put up like 2 or 3 people that make videos. And unfortunately, they only make them, occasionally. And I feel it's more advantageous to the truth movement if I promote the fraudsters here. So if you're one of those people that happen to make these good videos and you don't see you're wondering why I'm not promoting good guys, it's because we're not enough good people out here. There's more interconnections of fraudsters, okay? That's very clear to me, okay? Paul Begley, the retired school teacher out here, Jesus isn't so the end of the world. And I'm so sick of it, so sick of it. The likes of Blanche and Durnford make the anti-nuke movement look like whack jobs. Exactly. Uncle Triscuit, you got it, buddy. And you have to understand that's what's going on. I hope you understand. You've got it. So good, guy. That's exactly what's going on. This is exactly what's going on, okay? They want, that's why Kevin Blanche has got them what? Painting up soup cans. I'm like, oh no, they try to make them look like a bunch of stupid whack jobs. Okay, this is what's going on, folks. We're not going to have a change here with any of these people that are having you paint soup cans. This ain't going to work. In fact, this girl here, okay, Stacey Anderson, She's actually left the whole truth movement, Fukushima. She hasn't made a video over a year. She's done. She's done. She realized, for example, Kevin Blanch scammed Jeff Palco out of, was it $18,500? We'll do a search here in case you don't know this whole scenario, so you can quickly. Oops, I misspelled Jeff. Right there. Okay, please go watch this one. This gentleman ended up taking his life over this entire thing. And Kevin Blanch actually came out and uploaded this video here. Jeff Palco, November 19th, as he came out of the hospital, yeah, off the morphine. Yeah, go watch November 19th, what goes on there, and then go watch this one here, and then you'll understand how Kevin Blanch is full of shit. And then go watch this one here, where I'm actually receiving emails from Jeff Palco's biological mother, who says that the Fukushima fraud contributed to Jeff's death. He took his life because they defrauded him out of his life savings. So Stacy left the entire group here. I want you to see this here, just so you know what's going on. She hasn't been out here for over a year. No uploads. She's done with them. She realized that it's the same, that circle jerk of corruption that I've been speaking about. You look on the side of her channel, you see how she has them listed as top shelf fraudsters. Top shelf fraudsters. That's why she's walked away from here. Same with you, Andrew. Fraudster. Charge me with defamation. Please, any one of you fraudsters, please go ahead, charge me. I'll take you to court and I'll make you look like you're so fucking stupid. Even the judge will be laughing on the bench. Everyone else will be laughing in the courtroom. What? These idiots are promoting what? Yeah, it's the Fraud Club on YouTube, Your Honor. Right down to Pink Safaret. Nibru Magic left in 2014 when I started associating him with the death of the West Coast title poofs. He left YouTube. Embarrassed. I made 3 videos about him. Embarrassed. And this is the original Punisher. This is Jeff Palco, unfortunately, who took his life out of this entire fraud. Okay? Who's he connected up to? He's subscribed to Connectingdots2. Mission accomplished. How do they manage to have him up there? I don't know, honestly, because I like I said at the end, Kevin Blanch had turned on him and had scammed him out of his life savings. But anyways, yeah, that's the fraudsters we got to put up with. Okay, looks like that's about it. The Pacific Ocean is dead. It's not dead. It's dying. No, it's not dying. I'm lying. I see the show. Just got it here. Okay. All right, I'm going to wrap this up here. Thank you very much, everyone, for showing up, and hope you enjoyed the information. I'll strongly recommend, again, if you haven't checked out any of these videos here dealing with these fraudsters, I highly recommend you do, especially my Fukushima ones with the Pacific blob and the radiation killing the whales. This is going to bring you right up to par to what's taking place in the ocean on the Pacific coastline and how it connects up to the Army and the Pacific blob and the changes of the ocean, the water, the heating of the water, how the fish are not able to survive in those areas. Absolutely. It's like changing. Anyone who's ever had an aquarium, you already know that if you the temperature changes in your aquarium, your fish will die. In fact, they even tell you that when you bring a new fish from the pet shop, you buy a new fish and you're about to introduce it into your aquarium, you're to put that plastic bag with the new fish in it inside your aquarium so he can, the water changes, he can get used to it. So it's slow, the outside water of the aquarium will change the inside water of the aquarium, of that plastic bag, the water that's contained inside the plastic bag, to the same temperature, so there won't be a shock to the fish. Fish need to be, they're just like humans and like everything else, they do well in certain environments, and when there's a big weather change, yeah, they're affected here, just like the forest. There's no water, they're getting affected by the heating, and yeah, they die off. It's it's about connecting the dots and making some sense about this. Okay, I'm going to finish this up here. Thank you very much, and I'll see you here later on this week. I'll be back out. Take care.